Yeah, I can say Akram, Al-Rida, Kamal, Mazen, Wahaj. Thank you. Now, as you can see, Introduction to Departmental Accounts, the way I've structured today's lesson is like this. I want to go through the different types of cost. A little bit you already know, but now we will be getting into some technicalities, okay? The various types of costs. The first one, direct costs. Those costs which are directly attributable to a product or service, that is, direct materials, labor, and other expenses. Mainly, you've looked into these when you did your manufacturing account, remember? The first part of the manufacturing account, you were looking at cost of raw materials consumed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had direct costs, and there we looked into direct cost. Now here we have the definition which says that these are costs which are directly attributable to a product or service, like direct materials, direct labor, and any other any other
Yes, you're
expenses.
not recording this, I think.
It's not recording on the Google Meets, Mazen. I'm using my Apple's recorder, because in Google
Oh,
Meets what happens is it is not recording my screen. Yani when I'm doing a presentation, the
like it
presentation is
goes with the voice only, yeah?
yeah, it records only the voice and the person who's talking. Like for example, now you're speaking with me, right? When you're
Yeah.
speaking, I can see your icon, but I use all these presentations, and then when I'm using my iPad and making that presentation, the calculation, which is the important part, that is not getting recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, so I switched to this one. Now, this you already know. What you don't know is to write like this in this hi-fi way. Then direct labor. The cost of employing those workers who are actually engaged in the production of goods or providing services, that is the wages. When we say wages, the wages which we are giving to the people who are working in the production department were directly related to the machines or the product of the or the production of the product, whatever it is that you're making. Wages of the operatives as distinct from non productive workers such as supervisors and foremen. Now, let's take our school, or any school for that matter. Who do you think will be in the category of direct labor? Come on.
Teachers.
Teachers. Very good, because teachers are directly involved in the shaping of the product, which is you. And who do you think will come under non productive workers?
Principal.
Okay,
Supervisor.
administrative
Yeah,
staff. Yep.
miss,
Yes.
we are not good. We are students, miss. We are not good.
Um,
So we are good to be sued for process.
after I'm finished with this lesson, right? And when we have that little bit of a buffer time before you guys are dismissed, we'll get back to this point. Okay. Then, direct materials. The cost of materials which actually form part of the goods being produced. For example, the wood which is used in the construction of a desk, brass which is used for the desk drawer handles, but not, hopefully, the lubricating oil for the machinery. Now, when you are producing a product, in this case, in this example, it is a desk, what you are actually using, okay? Now, when you how much amount of wood you have actually used in producing, let's say, 100 tables, that is 100 desks or something like that. And wood is not the only material which you're using. You're also using these brass handles. Yep, you're putting all of these together. Everything which went into the production of the product will have to be accounted for.
Miss, I have an important question.
Yes.
Does time play a role in costing?
I didn't get your question, Akram.
Does time have a role in costing?
Yes, it does, and it comes later. You're just getting into it. Actually, what I'm doing with you right now is the first part of costing. I'm doing it because I want you to have a better understanding of departmental accounting when you answer the question which I had stopped my lesson with the last time. Okay, and one would argue this particular thing, lubricating oil for the machinery, that is also kind of like a direct material, but then here you see we've put it as indirect expense. Okay, the reason is given in the next.
There's no oil in the disc itself.
Right. Now, direct expense. Other expenses directly connected with the goods produced or services provided. Example, royalties payable to an inventor or patentee for the right to produce certain goods. Do you remember we went through a big procedure for this when we did manufacturing accounts when I explained royalties to you?
Yes.
You do not ask for a share of profit if you are the brains behind something.
For each unit produced.
Exactly. You'll have to charge
Just
them
have
for.
a question.
Yes.
If I buy some food for the workers, the operatives, is
Okay.
it direct expense or indirect?
Actually, you don't really buy the food. You provide them with a canteen inside the premises of your factory. And yes, they will come under indirect expense, not direct expense. You will see that. That's the next one. Prime cost and then indirect. Prime cost, you already know, direct labor plus direct materials plus direct expenses. Indirect expenses,
Miss, the electricity is used by the machines. Is it direct?
indirect. You'll see why.
Indirect.
Actually, it's an overhead. It's coming. Okay. Now, indirect
Okay.
expenses. Any expenses other than the direct expenses, indirect labor, that is the salary which you're giving to your foreman, for the storekeeper, factory canteen staff, all of these. Yeah. Then indirect materials, lubricating oils for the machines, because this lubricating oil is used on all the machines. It's not like for a specific machine or something like that. And these machines are producing various products. Okay, so you cannot directly attribute it to one particular product. That's the key point here.
Mhm.
You should be able to directly attribute it. For example, now when you guys are speaking, because of your voice and because who's talking, I know the point is directly attributable to Akram or to Mazen or to Kamal, right? So directly who told it, I can pinpoint. Such type of expenses are direct expenses. Supposing all of you are talking together to me, will I be able to directly tell who is talking, giving me what point?
No.
No, right?
No.
So you have certain materials within your factory which you will be using on everything, and that is also very very important for you to actually run the process smoothly and to produce the products which you're producing. Okay, so indirect materials like lubricating oils for the machines, cotton waste for cleaning machines, etc. Now when you look at this, you'll be thinking these are all little things, cheap, right? Why we are counting for this?
Every cent is counted.
Counted, as we saw in the petty cash, right?
Because a cent upon a cent makes $1.
Correct.
Miss, Miss, I
Yes.
have a question.
Yes, Mazen. Go
Why
on.
don't we put it in the petty cash book when
Petty cash.
huh?
All of these things.
Posting.
This is where
Yeah, I missed it.
Mazen, good question. Now listen. Now petty cash and all, petty cash book is maintained by the petty cashier. Where do even here, true Mazen, in the factory also there will be a petty cashier. And you know the question which Akram asked me earlier, Miss, where would you put the food if you buy food for your workers? Let's say for some strange reason the canteen is not working, and on that day you had to buy the food for your workers. Now this is a little bit of money only, right? There will be a petty cashier even in the factory who's looking into little expenses. For example, maybe the delivery of some small parts, or somebody has to run to the supermarket to get some small thing which is needed in the factory, tea or coffee for the supplier who comes to the factory to look into things, like for administration is going on there also, correct, in the factory. So yes, petty cashier is there also. But these things are not going to get into the petty cashier's books because these are things which involve which aspect? The production aspect or the administration aspect? What are these expenses in?
Production.
Production. So everything,
Production.
exactly, everything dealing with production is coming inside here, because in the end, when we are calculating total cost of the product, we should not leave anything behind, because if you leave anything behind, then when you set your selling price and when you're trying to make the product absorb all the cost, you will fail.
Yes.
Okay.
But even you should add money in case you lost something out.
Most of you will
What
overstate or understate the selling price if you don't put these things.
expenses exactly? But 1 minute, Akram, come back to. Ask me your question again. What was that?
I said about the cost of production. Some if at the end, if you like, if you are scared that you left something out there, you can add a little bit of virtual money.
No, 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 no. You add a little bit of virtual money, and then when the auditor comes to audit your books of accounts, the auditor catches that virtual money. Then that is it. You'll end up paying a lot more money. Okay.
Much would you
Yeah.
overstate or understate the selling price if you didn't put this minor
Understand?
Yes, because what happens is you are, along with your costs, you are including a little bit of profit, right? You're setting your profit margin when you're calculating your selling price, correct?
Okay.
So
Yes,
if you leave out something, it's going to hit
I
you
understand.
in the profit. Yeah. So now let's come to the indirect expenses. Rent of factory, depreciation of machinery, all of these are coming under indirect expenses. Moving on. Overhead costs. The total of all the indirect expenses.
Like factory overheads.
Yeah, factory overheads, then you have quite a bit of other overheads also, it's coming your way. Okay, now as you asked me, electricity is used by the machines in the full factory. Electricity is used also for lighting, air conditioning, then any other things which is necessary for the people to be there in the factory and to work. You cannot be allowing your people to work in inhumane conditions, right? So not only the production process, but also for the people who are there, you need electricity. So this electricity is running completely. You cannot pinpoint so much of electricity for this particular department, for this particular product.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so
hard.
it's difficult. Those kind of expenses are called overhead. Those kind of indirect expenses, they will all be coming under this category called overhead costs, which is a little challenging for any cost accountant to sit and apportion and allocate. Okay, now coming to the question which I asked you earlier. 1 minute. Okay, should we close a loss making department?
Not directly.
Go ahead and write your answers, and also remember one little thing which I told you guys. One little thing I have not yet done. I have not yet even told you about departments. We've not yet even come to department, but still, I'm starting off with this question: should we close a loss making department? Go on, right. I'm giving you time. Time to think about it. Meet with other administrators and take an overall look of the business. Okay. Kamal, what is this?
A picture.
You told me you had
from
already
before.
written it. If a department in a business making a loss, then we close try to figure out a reason why this department is making a loss and work out many reasons. Close. This loss cannot be covered by other departments, or it depends on the duration of the loss, the amount of loss amount. Okay. Loss making department is contributing to another department's success. Maybe going into loss attracting customers. Good point there, Wahaj. Okay, you can solve the problem, and you and the administrators should close that department. Okay, Imad, where is your answer? Silently sitting.
Yes, you know, somebody, maybe something. You will have
Three aspects
Uh,
that you said about.
okay, I will.
What was them?
I will. When you're talking about departments, okay, you can divide your departments inside your business based on the functions of a business. When you're talking about functions of business, you're looking at production, marketing, sales, and sales and distribution, administration. All of these are different functions of the business, right? So based on that also you can look at it, you can make the departments. Take for example our school. Based on functions, you have the administration department, that is which comprises of the senior level team, the management, okay, the principal, and then upwards from the principal, the school management. Okay, now these people, they are the ones who will plan for the school, what activities should be included inside the school, all this kind of stuff. Okay, how many students should we take? How many what are the policies regarding the dismissal of a student, the acceptance of a student? All these things are being done there. These are all functions of a business. Based on that, you can divide the school into that particular management, and then you have the other management wherein we are having the heads of departments who will be deciding upon which subjects are being offered over here, what are the topics which we should offer inside these subjects. Yep. Quality of the teachers who are coming in, being with the teachers, and looking into, like, the quality of teaching within the department. So when I say humanities department, that is my commerce humanities department, and then you have biology department, you have physics department, you have maths department. All of these departments, okay, these are also departments, but are they coming under the can you categorize them as a function of a business? Can you?
no.
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 But still, these are, in order to make decisions for the top management, they will be looking at these departments from the point of view of a business. Now I'm actually answering a question which Akram started off early on, and I told him if we are having that buffer time, we'll get to it. So as a businessman, when I'm looking at these departments, you know how I'll be looking at these departments? I'll be looking at how many students have taken the math course, how many students have taken the physics course, how many have taken biology, how many have taken chemistry, how many have taken business, economics, accounting. Because from the number of students in these departments, I'll be getting how much money is coming into the school. And then I'll be also looking at the expenses from these departments. Okay, what are the kind of books which this department has ordered? How many teachers are inside this department? How much salary am I paying for these for the people? And are there any other expenses related to these departments? So let's say the maths department is making a lot of expenses. Let's say they are going for competitions outside. They are having some what do you say, exhibitions inside the school. A lot of activities are going on. So basically, it means that the expenses related to this department is coming up, right? Which means expenses of the school is coming up, right or wrong?
Yes.
So the final question here, which needs to be answered, is just because this department is making a lot of
According to the
expenses.
situation.
Yeah. Should we close down the department or should we keep it open? Now, if I go with Wahad's line of reasoning, math is a very important subject. Maybe we have very good maths teachers here, and a lot of advertisement has been done for this department, and but still, let's
Of course,
say,
I will not close it.
yeah. So based on that argument also, they will keep this closed. But let me ask you, will this be a financial decision or will this be a non-financial decision?
Of course,
This would be a
non-financial.
financial.
um,
Non-finance.
Both
As
financial and non-financial.
Financial and
financial.
non-financial, but then the
But
one
mainly
which,
non-financial, miss, because it's like it means more for the school value.
exactly, when they're taking,
Imagine school with
yeah,
maths.
when they're looking at this aspect as to how this particular subject is affecting the image of the school and the reason for which people come into the school, then we are taking a non-financial decision when you're looking at either should we close it or not close it. Okay.
My dad won't register me in a school that has no maths.
Why?
Alrida, hold. After my lesson. Purpose of
Okay.
departmental accounting. Why do you actually do departmental accounts? To show the contribution that each department is making to the overall result of a business and to indicate departments which need either to improve their performance or face closure. But when you're looking at closure, it's not an easy decision.
Of
Apportionment of
course.
overheads over departments. Now, when I'm talking about apportionment, we've already looked into it when we did manufacturing account, and you already know how to do it. But that's the first part which you're looking into. It's very very simple, and you know that you have to use logic in order to apportion. But as an accounting teacher and as an account in an accounting class, I still have not come to the crux of the matter when we deal with departmental accounts and closing. Everything we discussed and the points which I got from you guys, it is all pointing only towards non financial factors. You are all giving me answers based on your heart, not based on your head. When you base the decision on your head for closure or non closure of a department, and when you say that this non-profit, this loss making department is going to affect the profit making department, the main reason is this. Taking for example electricity, we divided electricity and we put it in all the departments, right? For example,
Yeah.
let's look at this problem which is here. This is a chemist. They have separate department for drugs, cosmetics, and photographic equipment. The following balances were extracted from their books for the year to 31st December 1991. Purchases of drugs. Then this is sales of drugs. Now, when you look at this, they've given you the stock, and then you have your salaries and wages, sales commission, rent and rates. Let's just look at rent and rates, which is, I believe, 11,500. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Rent and rates is
No,
11,500.
miss, 14,000.
14,000. You sure?
Yes. Yeah, because there is the 41,100 is the sum.
Yeah, the sum of the stock. So 14,000. Thanks for that, Akram. So 14,000 is the rent and rates which is paid by by the business as a whole. Okay. Now, in the additional information, let's look for a basis of apportionment. These are stocks, salaries, and wages are to be allocated as follows. Sales commission to be apportioned in the ratio of turnover each. Rent and rates, light and heat are to be apportioned in the ratio of departmental floor area as follows. The drugs 30%, cosmetics 40%, photography 30%. So basically 14,000 is going to be divided like this: 30% of 14,000 to drugs, 40% of 14,000 to cosmetics, 30% of 14,000 to photographic. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's assume photography was not doing a great job because of I mean, everybody's having camera phones, blah 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 blah, right? So photography department is going into huge losses.
Okay.
Now, tell me, 30 percentage of 14,000. What will happen to that? This 30
It will
percentage.
decrease.
No,
Go down. Disappear.
are you going
It
to be
will stay the
paying?
same.
The question is, are you going to be paying less rent and rates when you're going to close this department?
No, it's gonna be
No
the
more.
same.
Exactly, it is going to be the same. This 30 percentage will now get into the drugs and cosmetics.
Oh, okay. But maybe, Missy, like you have an office and you closed it.
La.
I mean, there is 3 offices. One for cosmetic, one for and drugs, and one for photography.
Photographic,
When you close
okay.
the photographic, you're no more renting the.
Oh my god. Nah, I mean, you still are kids, and that's why I'm taking it step
Yes.
by step for you. Nah, in the real world, it doesn't work like that, Akram. When you rent out office space, it's like a nice big chunk of space you get, okay, and you're
Yes,
going to
yes, I
pay
know.
rent and rates for the whole this thing. What you do with that chunk of space you have is completely upon you, okay. So when you look at overheads, these overheads, come what may, they need to be paid by the business as a whole,
Yes.
okay. So when you, and this overhead expense is being shared by all the departments which are inside the business. So if you're going to
Yes.
think of closing a particular department, it is not very easy, because this department you already are allocating a certain part,
Ex- uh,
and that part will have to be borne by the other two departments.
mhm.
Okay, so when it is being borne by the other two departments, don't you think the expenses for the other two departments will now increase, which in turn will affect the profit of the other two departments? It will bring down the profit margin of the other profit making departments. This is the this is the most important financial factor which is going to affect the decision for closure of a department. You will always have to look into the overheads, and you have to come up with some uh, the best thing you will have to do is you will have to um, come up with some way in which you can turn around this loss making department into a profit making department. Maybe whatever resources you are using for the photography department, you could inject a little bit of money into it and modify it in such a way that it will I mean, it will be something which is a better substitute inside the market. Now, I was talking about the fact that, uh, I mean, the advent of camera phones, right? So,
But
yeah, go ahead,
why do
Mark.
I invest money in a department that
Which
I'm
is
not sure
already
that it
making
will?
loss. Yeah, that's the point I'm coming to. In just a little bit of money over here, and instead of going for physical photography, that is investing money in putting it in the form of photo papers and all those machines, you could sell those machines which you are having the photographic department for the photography thing, sell them and reinvest that money in getting some software professionals inside your company who will be thinking about creating an app for photography. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Something that does not or takes less expenses.
Yeah, but then these are business decisions. This is not coming under accounting, okay? But this is the way you actually go about it. When you're looking into accounts and when you're looking financial and non-financial factor, what I was actually talking is a non-financial factor there, with a little bit of finance involved. That is, for the photography, you already have invested money in the machines, right? And photo papers and ink and all these things. So you already have those resources. You could take that asset, sell it off, and from the money which you're getting, and maybe a little bit you might have to invest more, you could employ software professionals into that department, and they could look into creating an app for photography and putting it into the in the app market in Android as well as in the iOS, and look into turning the business around.
بس in other words يعني look, do your business in another way, in a new way.
Yeah, but see to it that you
But you don't lose the department 100%.
exactly.